Ladies and gentlemen, have I got an event for you today? I am joined by the founder of Pump.Science. This is going to be an incredible interview. I've been talking about Pump.Science for the last few months in Sensei Chat. DeSci, decentralized science, is a new industry inside of the crypto market. And we actually have somebody that is working hand over hand with their team to build out the future of what decentralized science looks like on blockchain. And so I'm really excited to welcome the founder, Benji, with us today. Benji, please introduce yourself to the community. Anything you want to say, now is a good time, man.
Awesome. Yeah, no, thanks so much for having me. Yeah, so my name is Benji, aka Benjels. I live in Chicago. I'm based in the US. And yeah, founded Pump.Science in September. So it's only been a few months, but the growth has been super explosive. Been super excited by all of the cool reception we've got, and just excited to build off of it and ship some cool stuff for all the fans.
I love that, man. And we're going to get into all that today. What I want to ask you guys, we already have about 340 people watching. So glad to have you guys with us. Please like and share the space. That'll get us in front of more incredible people like yourself. And we really want to get this out to everybody because DeSci is going to be hugely impactful in the crypto market. And I know Cryptonaires members are itching to take advantage of some really cool information. So let's first, there's probably people that are just joining us that have never heard of DeSci, decentralized science. So do you want to go ahead and maybe start there? What is DeSci, right? What is it to you, right? And then we'll get into what Pump.Science is.
Awesome. Yeah. So I think just broadly speaking, decentralized science is, I mean, what it has become is basically applications of crypto and blockchain to science. Like science and research have their issues. There are lots of different ways that crypto and decentralized ledger technologies can disrupt science and the way that research gets funded, conducted, published, etc. And so, yeah, like that's basically what DeSci is, like all the different ways and use cases for crypto to change the way science gets done.
And do you see this having a big impact on the way science is done? I mean, from what I understand, and I'm just a novice here. That's why I brought you on. You're kind of an expert. But what I see now is you have these big pharmaceutical companies that employ scientists and other academics to create IP and other use cases in the scientific community, and then they own the ownership rights to it. So it sounds like what's being built out right now is everyday person's opportunity to participate in the future of science. Is that kind of close?
Yeah, totally. I mean, you can look at it from the pharma lens. There's really, you can look at it from various different lenses. So number one is like, how does science get funded? It gets funded by, at least in the US, by the National Institute of Health, which has like a gigantic multi-billion-dollar budget that funds research that mostly goes on at universities. They also fund some startups, but it's mostly goes to academic labs within universities. So there's a funding side of things that's very centralized from the NIH. You can analyze the incentives of those people there, and I think you come to some really interesting conclusions. You can also look at like how science gets executed. You've got these PhD scientists who have been in academia for many years, have published a ton of papers, are seen as like the gods of science, basically the popes of the church and the church of academia and science that exists. It's very, very dogmatic. There are, of course, pockets of really, really interesting science going on everywhere, but for the most part, I think if you start to look at and a lot of people talk about this, but science has become this kind of religion that we look at and say trust the science, which is completely antithetical to what science is. It's about really searching for knowledge and truth and questioning everything, right? Including the people that are making huge claims, especially the people that are making huge claims. So there's a whole like research apparatus which has tons of problems that we can like totally get into. I really try not to focus on the problems and more around like the very interesting solutions that crypto can bring to some of these problems. And then kind of as you mentioned, like you've got the pharmaceutical companies who are just a piece of the puzzle, right? Who are basically taking the research that's done at universities, spinning it out. And sometimes it's done by biotech companies, which are typically smaller pharma companies, but eventually it ends up getting owned by these pharma companies. But
Mm.
I don't think you can necessarily blame any one of these individual entities. They're all just playing the game
Yeah.
that the system has created, right? And so, yeah, like the way I think about the pharma companies is they're like, if you think about how movies or TV shows get made, they're not typically made by like Netflix or by HBO Max, right? But the IP rights end up within those entities because they have maximum distribution. So actually, a lot of the research and drugs don't come out of pharma. They come out of small biotechs that spin out of these universities, but they end up getting purchased by pharma because pharma has massive sales teams, really good relationships with the regulatory bodies, and is like has maximum distribution capabilities. So anyway, science is massive. We're focused primarily on like biomedical health with like Molecule and the pocket of DeSci that I personally work in and where Pump.Science is. But DeSci is massive. There's a ton of cool projects that are trying to disrupt all the different layers of the stack.
I love that, man. Thank you for breaking that down so we can better understand that. We do have about 980 people watching, guys. If you can like the space and share the space, I'd really appreciate that. Thank you so much. So let's get into what is Pump.Science and why did you create it?
Yeah. So I think there's a few different reasons. So, and this has been like a long journey for me personally, but also for the DeSci space trying to find itself. And we think that Pump.Science is kind of like an interesting experiment to try out where, if you look at the systemic level, like let's take the 30,000-foot view and you look at the healthcare system, is the healthcare system getting better or worse? I think one interesting metric to look at is how long are we living, right? It's not necessarily like to blame or to give credit to the healthcare system if people are living longer and shorter. There's a lot of reasons why, people can die from things that are completely unrelated to healthcare, but it's one good metric. And if you look at the life expectancy, at least here in the US, especially, it's not going up, right? So that's kind of one metric, which is like, what's the output? And then another metric is the input, like how much money are we spending on healthcare? And we are, I think, at 17 or 18% of GDP in the US is spent on healthcare and very quickly trending toward the 20s in terms of percent of total spend. So I think it comes out to about $4 trillion a year is spent on healthcare. Wow. And we are getting no extra life expectancy out of it, which I just find super interesting, right? And so the question is, why is this? And I think if you go down this rabbit hole, which is very interesting, and I, suggest everybody does, it's to me, health is, one of the most important and fragile things we have. You might as well understand the people that are supposed to take care of it around you. Like, what are their motivations? Are they doing their job? Is the system working? To me, this is a really interesting rabbit hole to go down. And I think if you do that, or what I personally found, and, others should totally verify, is that the whole system is set up and incentivized to treat you when you are sick, right? So your doctor does not get paid if you are healthy. They get paid if you are sick and they treat you, right? So what does that incentivize in a very, from an evil, greedy, selfish perspective? Their incentive is to, have you get sick and then, cure you. And so it's basically this kind of world of sick care that we actually live in. It's not really a system that's set up to incentivize individuals to be healthy, right? Or reward doctors when their patients are healthy. So there's the physicians. I don't even want to say it's the physician because it's like, I don't want to blame any one party, but like the healthcare system is not incentivized to take care of health, which is like it's what it should be, is healthcare, right? It's to take care of sick or, be sick care. So that's from the, healthcare system side of things. And then there's like the individual side of things where you cannot be rewarded for being healthy, right? If you go to the gym and eat well and sleep well and take care of yourself, that lowers, your healthcare costs, right? Because you're less of a cost burden to the system. But that doesn't actually lower the health insurance premiums that you pay each month to get taken care of, right? So unlike in car insurance, where if you drive the speed limit and you have a dash cam, they incentivize you to be safer and that lowers your car insurance premiums. That does not exist in healthcare. So from both the healthcare system side of things and the individual side of things, the incentives are not aligned for people to be healthy, right? So anyway, that's kind of like the high level way to look at it.
Sure.
Then there's the kind of there's the scientist level way to look at it, which is if you're a scientist and you've come to this conclusion, which I've kind of just outlined, which is that the healthcare system is broken in this game of incentives. As a scientist, it's very difficult to get funding to do research in things like longevity, right? So to figure out what compounds potentially make us healthy, not treat a disease, but just baseline contribute to our overall health. It's very difficult to get funding for that research, both from the government, but also from the private sector, so like from venture capitalists. So the whole healthcare kind of mob doesn't really consider aging a disease. So the FDA will not approve a drug for that just increases health, extends lifespan. Insurance companies will not cover general supplements that just make you healthier, right? So basically the whole, all of the incentives and capital flows do not basically land in the scientist who has a great idea for, what's a chemical that I should test for that may contribute to overall health. So from the scientists, they're like, I want funding. I can't get funding, right? From the private sector, from the public sector, it's just not there. And then there's, so that's kind of like, you got the scientist perspective, you got the systemic kind of perspective. And then you've got like the degen, investor, speculator, whatever you want to call them perspective, which is, look, I want to bet on science.
Yeah.
Call me a criminal. But I find it really fun to kind of gamble a little bit and speculate. And I science is to me like the most interesting subject matter to speculate on. And, I do some biotech stock trading, but frankly, it's just really boring because the cycle times are so long, right? For a clinical trial to read out, it takes months, many, many months to years. The data is not real time. It is just a very slow process. And I get that the scientific process and research and clinical trials just take time. But I think the lack of a feedback loop hurts kind of the addictiveness of it, right? And, because there's so many potential macro factors that can affect asset prices in biotech in the time that it takes to bet, right? You're basically just a macro trader, right? So, by the time the trials run, you're you're 9 months away in macro. That's a huge potential, there's much more potential for volatility from macro than the individual trial data, right? Which, I want to purely speculate around the specific scientific results. So Pump.Science is meant to kind of solve all these different problems. So that's kind of the why. I apologize for rambling, but
no, you're good.
Gives a sense.
I just wanted to touch base with the chat and the community that are watching. So guys, if you just joined us or you joined us late, we have the founder of Pump.Science. I've been talking about this a lot in my chats. If you've been in my chats the last few weeks, we've talked a lot about this. And, I wanted to go straight to the founder to get information. And so Benji here is the founder of Pump.Science. He's going to be dropping a bunch of knowledge on us today in this new narrative forming in crypto. And I beg you to pay attention because this is going to be wildly important. So we got 1,500 people watching. If you can like and share the space, I know we can get over 2,000 during this session. I really appreciate it. So let's get back into it with Benji here. So Benji, how does this all work, right? So you guys have launched 2 projects so far, right? I can't even say this name, Rifamycin and then Urolithium. Wait, first of all, what are these 2 things? Okay. And why are the names so difficult? Can we have easier names? But tell me how it started.
We need to have a stern word with the people that give these compounds names for sure.
Please.
Yeah. They're definitely trying to make our lives miserable. But yeah, so Rifampicin and Urolithin were the first 2 compounds that were launched on Pump.Science. You're all good.
I was way off. All right.
No, cool. I've heard worse. All right.
Appreciate that.
So yeah, basically those were the first 2 compounds we launched.
Okay.
We launched them at Solana Breakpoint. We basically, we had kind of had the idea of Pump.Science cooking for a long time, and we kind of wanted to put it to the test,
Okay.
experiment a bit and just see like, hey, is anyone interested in speculating on, these kind of research experiments also? And so we launched these two compounds. Urolithin A is a supplement. It is a compound that's found in a lot of different like fruits, but I think it's in the highest concentration in pomegranate seeds. So you could just eat pomegranate seeds and get urolithin A. But you of course can just like isolate this specific chemical, which has what is shown to be in like tons of other experiments that have been done and well validated, that it seems to have these really positive, like beneficial effects. Don't really need to get into the mechanism, but it does. It improves mitochondrial health. It gives people more energy. It gives animals more energy, and it seems to extend life in various organisms.
Okay.
So we launched urolithin A because the research around it was super interesting, and we thought that it was more interesting than it was getting attention, right?
Okay.
So we think it's much more valuable than people are kind of taking advantage of it for life extension benefits and for just general promotion of health. So there's urolithin A, and then the other one is rifampicin. And rifampicin is very interesting because it has a massive effect on the lifespan of what is a super common animal model called C. elegans, which is just a small, tiny nematode worm. They're about the size of your eyelash. And rifampicin increases their lifespan by about 33%, which is
Wow.
a lot, which
Okay.
is a lot. Like imagine, I mean, of course, this doesn't necessarily translate to humans, but just imagine
Yeah.
getting extra 30 years. Like just the
Yeah.
idea of that is kind of crazy.
Okay.
It's crazy. So again, obviously this doesn't translate to humans. We are not worms. But what you do find is that if you give rifampicin at the right dose to nematodes, these C. elegans models, which they only live about, I think, 20 to 30 days, they live
Okay.
about 30%, 33% longer. But rifampicin is approved by the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, and given to patients for tuberculosis as an antibiotic.
Okay.
So it's an approved prescription antibiotic, but it seems to have these really interesting longevity properties that we think are not sufficiently studied. So what we're really excited with rifampicin is taking like something promising and building on top of it and leveraging all the people that are excited about funding this area of research to continue to develop that research. So there's a lot of different directions we can take both compounds in. They will probably go into different directions only because of their like legal and regulatory
Sure.
status. But yeah, it's kind of like two different like outcomes for the direction that compounds can go. So yeah, basically what we launched at Breakpoint was a stream of the data of the compounds being tested on worms. So
Mm.
basically raw images of like, here are the worms on this day, here are the worms on this day. Look, they moved, or no, they didn't move. That one's probably dead. And so we basically streamed what are just kind of lifespan experiments, which is like we either gave, drug, rifampicin or urolithin A, or control, which is just like, basically nothing. And we measured the lifespan. So, the contract research organization that we ran these experiments with, they use computer vision. So basically like machine learning on images to detect the movement of the worms and detect when they die. So from that, you can basically deduce the lifespan without a human having to be like, okay, now that one's dead, right? So it's just basically AI-driven kind of data on top of these lifespan experiments that allows us to live stream, or it wasn't live, it was actually retrospective,
Sure.
but stream the data to users and enable them to kind of speculate on it. And so the basic idea is there is kind of this pathway that you can take compounds like step by step, ideally toward human trials, but you have to start with something very small, very cheap, and not very harmful, right? And so you start with like worm experiments. It's a few $100s to run. doesn't take very long. It only takes about like 30 days to execute. And you can get some signal, right? So like these worms and us share 40% of the disease-causing proteins. So, you think we're so far from worms, and we
Mm.
are, but you get, 40% signal for a few $100s in a month. Pretty good level one of the game, right? And then the idea is when the token hits a certain market cap, you advance to level 2.
Okay.
It's not just the market cap, though. We also want to make sure that these compounds aren't harmful. So there's kind of these two gates. There's the market cap gate, and then ensuring that the compounds aren't harmful. If they reduce the lifespan, we're not going to advance them to higher level organisms, which should make sense, right?
Okay.
We don't want anything harmful getting advanced. But the idea is you basically go level by level to more and more advanced organisms. And so what the optimal protocol is, we can totally debate, but the one we've come up with is, worms, flies, mice, and then humans. For some, we may explore other large animals, but for now, we're just going to do those 4 different levels.
So what is the benefit of the people holding the tokens of the particular molecules? Like what is their participation in all of this, right? Like let's say there is Riff, the first one that was created. Let's say that goes on to human trials and then something is created, some type of IP where it's actually making money, right? Do the people who own the token get a percentage of that? Like how does that, what is the purpose of somebody investing in this and holding on to these assets for a particular amount of time?
Yeah, it's a super fair question. And I just want to preface this by saying, like, I have to be extremely careful.
Of course.
And we
Yeah.
have to be extremely careful about how we talk about this stuff.
Sure. Sure.
But the basic idea is that when you buy one of these tokens, you get a fractional piece of the IP governance rights.
Okay.
What that means is with each compound, there will be intellectual property that's associated with it. One of the tokens represents a fractional piece of the rights to that compound. What that means practically is that if somebody wants to buy the rights to the compound or they want to sell that compound, the token holders get to determine the terms by which that sale can happen. So I think I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that answers it. So just like the crypto market, you are speculating on this compound or whatever it is, maybe having future value through all of these different steps that it goes through. I mean, the first token that was launched was Riff, and that went to I think like $240 million market cap, something like that, and it's come back down a bit. And the other one went to like 150 or 160, if my memory serves me correctly. So like, I know the model, you guys kind of modeled this after Pump Fund, right? But Pump Fund is really, like 0.000.17% of those tokens actually make it to radium and they're not rugs. And, it's a vicious cycle there, right? But you guys have only launched 2 protocols, right? So, you guys have the similar name here, and I know that you're trying to do something similar, but you are kind of very restrained on what you allow on the platform. So can you talk to us about what the team goes through, or what you go through with your team to allow one of these new molecules or protocols to be added to Pump.Science?
Totally. Yeah, no, appreciate that context. It is important that people realize like the goal of Pump.Science is to basically be the Pump.Fund for different compounds getting launched for health and longevity to start, and potentially other disease areas later. But yeah, so Riff and Your are kind of the poster childs. They're kind of like the flagship tokens that we launched first. And we are kind of like the devs, so to speak, as they're kind of known in the Pump.Fund realm. But our goal is to enable scientists to become devs, right? And anyone with a good idea of like compounds that should be tested, to be able to become their own dev, launch their own compound, get the experiments executed and funded, and basically create their own communities. But being the devs ourselves, was kind of a way for us to showcase, how this could go. For somebody to launch a compound, so right now we just have a form to capture people's ideas, but I think the important piece is, with Pump.Fun, you're not really, or basically launching tokens in general, you're not really limited in the physical world, right? You just have to pay like a few dollars in gas and then off you go, right? It doesn't really relate to anything in the real world.
Yeah.
So we're working with, real chemicals, real animals, and real labs that have like instruments and, teams that execute experiments, and all these things. So we are limited on the scale at the moment. The goal is obviously to upscale the heck out of this, and to have basically like hundreds and thousands of experiments going all at once. But we kind of have to get there piece by piece.
Yeah.
And so we started with Riff and Euro. And then the next iteration will be, I think, 10 to 20 compounds in partnership with VitaDAO. So they are kind of gathering like a series of devs, who are basically just research scientists that they work with. So that will be kind of like the next rollout of new tokens and compounds. One thing that, I probably should say is like the community has been pretty adamant about not launching new compounds until we do mice experiments on Riff and Euro.
Okay.
They want us to support those tokens prior to launching new ones. So we're honoring that. And like they push back a ton. We want to launch more compounds. They want us to develop Riff and Euro. So, but there has been this like really healthy tension that, it basically got us to change our roadmap so that we're going to launch the mouse experiments, which should be really fun. I'm really excited about this.
How far are we away from those experiments? Or is that like weeks, months? It can't be years, right?
No. So we'll probably get them launched mid-January. So we've ordered the apparatus that we're going to test the mice on. So the limiting factor here is actually ethical approval to run the experiment. So there's kind of like this regulatory body that has to approve you to get the mice to run the experiment. They have to like look at the research protocol and say, okay, this is ethical or it's unethical. Hopefully they'll say it's ethical. Like I think what we're doing is not exactly crazy. The research that people do on mice is absurd relative to what we're doing. But yeah, I won't give it away quite yet. There'll be like super cool announcements around like what the experiment is. But yeah, so we're getting approval for the mouse tests. Those are getting launched mid-January. And yeah, so the idea is we launch those mid-January, and then a few weeks after we'll launch the new compounds and the new experiments, starting again from the worms.
And how those 20 odd experiments that you guys have coming up, how do you pick which ones go first, right? Is it that, hey, this has got a real shot at becoming something more? I mean, there has to be some type of process that you put each molecule or protocol through to make sure that, hey, this might have a future if this, and this happen, right? So how do you guys make that determination? And who goes first? Like who goes first next, I guess?
Yeah, totally. So VitaDAO, which is basically a longevity DAO that's in like the DeSci ecosystem, a while ago, they launched this kind of bounty program, which they called the Longevity Prize. And what they did is they had a bunch of people, including Vitalik and Justin Sun, who funded a bunch of compounds to be tested. And they just sourced a bunch of ideas from their community. And from that, they ran 100 different compounds, which are currently getting run. And so from those 100, there's about like 10 to 20 or so that are like designated legally as supplements.
Okay.
And so we're basically, kind of down selecting to those.
Got it.
And so those are going to be the ones that are launched. As to how those 10 to 20 are sequenced, I think we're debating how to do that. I think we might leave that up to the community, frankly, to order them. So we might announce what they are and let people, just basically use, likes or Twitter or hype to see which ones we launch first. It's either that or random. So.
Man, I mean, obviously people are interested in this because now we have over 2,000 people watching, and I want to thank everybody in the chat. I know there's some XRP questions in the chat, and we'll get to that after the interview. I know people are excited about the science, right? That's what I wanted to get to. So, you know, somebody's sitting at home saying, "Hey, this sounds really interesting. This sounds really cool, but like, how do I buy this? Like, what is the process in?" It gets does it get listed on Pump.Science and people buy it from Pump.Science? Do they buy it from Radium? You know, where do people buy this? Is it on Solana? They're on Solana, correct? Are they all on Solana?
They're all on Solana.
Okay.
They're all
And
on
so
Solana.
day one, you know, this is mid-January, the third, well, you know, project gets launched. You guys make announcements, and then you guys post the contract, or did somebody else do it? Like, I think somebody, I really want to know, right? So I'm asking
Yeah,
for
I
the
got you. No,
how,
these are great questions.
what is the process of that? Because I know that I've told my community that I am waiting for the next one. Like, I have $10,000 sitting on the side waiting for the next Pump.Science. And you can ask anybody in my community. I've said this week over week, because I mean, you guys have already, there's excitement, right? There's people that are interested in what you guys are doing, right? We've already seen a 200 million plus market cap. We've seen the second one go to 150. Even if the third one only goes to 50 or 100 million, if you can get into that, you know, under 500K or under a million, you can really do a 50 or 100X pretty quickly. So spill the juice. Like, what do I need to do to be prepared for this next launch?
Yeah, so I think the most important piece is we'll be super public about everything. I think we've been very public
You have.
about everything we've done. Really like building in the open. Honestly, it's been so incredible to get feedback. I think, frankly, we've just channeled a lot of excitement that exists into feedback for us, and so we're super thankful for that. It's like been good for us to iterate. But yeah, I think, like, to kind of get at the technical questions you asked. So we launched the first two on Pump Fund. It was really just like an MVP test of this
Yep.
system. Are people interested in funding research? Are they interested in, you know, the experiments that are getting run? Do they think this is cool? And our answer, which we're super thankful for, is probably yeah. Like, we should keep going. And so this kind of justified us as a team to allocate more resources to build our own contracts, to build our own platform that basically is suited exactly to our needs for launching these compounds. So, and I think you said mid-January. Just wanted to clarify that the mice are mid-January.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
new compounds. No, it's all good, but
Yeah.
just important.
Appreciate that.
The new compounds are probably come in February.
Okay.
What we're building right now is a smart contract protocol that's highly similar to Pump Fund.
Cool.
I'm happy to share like the details of that.
Please, if you can.
Yeah. I mean, I you know, it's probably okay if I talk about it. It is subject to change though, so I just want to kind of like preface it with that. You know, we've gotten a ton of feedback. We will continuously get feedback, but yeah, no, I'll lay it out. So what we want to build is something super similar to Pump Fund. Pump Fund has really kind of shown how viral meme tokenomics can be, you know, by having this kind of fair launch distribution of tokens. It really makes tokens go viral, and we're really inspired by that. There are very minor changes that we're going to make to the Pump Fund, you know, bonding curve and migration protocol. I think number one is bot proofing it. So,
Yeah.
you know, bots have been there's one perspective, which is bots are great. They enable trading volume, right? There's another, which is like, if you're a normal user, it's really annoying to be trading against bots, right?
It's impossible.
Because it's impossible.
It's impossible.
So we are implementing a bonding curve with, we're not bot proofing, right? But we are trying to create additional layers that make it less attractive to run bots.
Okay.
So I'll just say that. But the starting market cap and the closing market cap of the bonding curve are super simple. They're super simple. Very similar to Pump Fund.
Okay.
With this additional layer of, we are creating a disincentive to bot the system. Hope that makes sense.
And is this going to take place on Pump.Science? Like, people are going to come there to initially, I mean, you know, I'm trying to think, you know, Virtuals. I don't know if do you know what Virtuals is?
Absolutely.
Okay, so Virtuals has their own version, Virtuals Fund, right? And so the bonding curve situation, I imagine what you're talking about, it's exactly like that, where you're, you know, they start off at, you know, 0 market cap or 1,000 market cap, and then you have to reach 70,000 or 100,000 to reach the bonding curve, and then it gets listed publicly. Is that kind of how I'm hearing this? Because that's
Totally.
Okay, cool.
Totally. With virtuals, I believe you need to do something with the virtual token. Is that either to launch an agent or to participate? Initially, I haven't bought anything off of virtual's bonding curve, so excuse my ignorance, but like I'm
No,
not
I've
super
never
familiar with their mechanics.
I've never launched one, but I've bought something off of Virtual's fund, and it's the same thing like Pump Fund. You have to reach a certain amount of volume and market cap for that to actually go onto the Virtual's
Totally.
page. So I'd imagine it's going to be close like that, because like I'd imagine you guys have thousands of people just kind of itching for the next molecule, right? And so I'd imagine once that launches and you announce that, it's going to reach that capacity and that limit pretty quickly. And so I did want to ask, and I know this is shifting gears a little bit, but when you're trading cryptocurrency, right, there really isn't a beneficiary unless there's like a buy and sell tax, right, where the team is taking money from all of the constant buying and selling in the market so they can raise money to maybe expand the protocol or do other things, right? So how do you guys raise money for these experiments, right? And to because I'd imagine building out a team costs money, employing these people costs money, experiments cost money, mice, I don't know how much mice cost, but they cost money. Do they really?
A lot of money. A lot.
Well, it depends how much mice is it Mises? Anyway.
Sure. You're really crushing it with the scientific terms. We might have to hire you as a scientific communicator.
I could be your comedy, comedy leader for Pump.Science. So I'm looking forward to getting a job application for you guys. But how do you build money to build the team, or how do you raise money to build the team?
It's such a good question. So, maybe explaining a little bit more of the mechanics, the smart contracts mechanics will kind of bring this to light. So.
Please.
Yeah, so with Pump.Fun, I think what they figured out was a few things. Number one is this bonding curve to AMM migration, fair launch protocol is super viral. It really helps coins, reach their potential. A few places that I think that, it can be improved. Number one is, bot proofing a little bit. And the second one is kind of getting to what you're talking about, which is like, how do you fundraise? In a world where you're not just launching memes, you're launching things in the physical world, where you have to run experiments, you have to hire people, we have to pay for experiments that are super expensive. We have to buy drug compounds, we have to hire scientists. It's all, it is expensive.
It's all cost.
How do you raise that funding? We were thinking about it in two different ways. We were thinking about it either as, we snipe like a piece of the token and then sell it as it goes up.
Okay.
What we decided is that would curb the growth of the token. So we kind of like threw that away, cool idea, but probably not ideal. What is another kind of like legendary discovery by Pump Fund is the whole idea of locking LP tokens. So I don't know how familiar your community is with like the whole process of liquidity provisioning on an AMM, how that gets provided, who that gets provided by, and how the fees can be claimed. But what Pump Fund basically does is they say all the SOL that's been raised on the bonding curve now goes to Radium, and nobody can claim from that LP. So this kind of creates what you can kind of think of as like a pure casino. There's no risk that somebody who gets greedy says, I'm gonna, rug pull the liquidity. And that was an additional layer of risk that meme coins had to, and meme coin traders had to kind of get comfortable with and take into account prior to Pump Fund. Pump Fund was brilliant in the idea that actually you want to completely remove that escape hatch for the person who launched the coin, right? So you never want them to be able to get out. And so they lock the coins and the LP tokens, which basically have a claim on the liquidity in the AMM, and they burn them. The problem with burning those LP tokens is now that the fees kind of accrue to nobody. They just kind of go into the ether. and are basically like contributing to deflate. It's a deflationary force on Sol, but nobody gets the benefit from that trading. We think that's, you know, less than ideal. And we think that those trading fees that people are paying anyway to trade pump fund coins that are otherwise going nowhere could go to fund research, right?
I love that.
And so Radium doesn't enable this kind of functionality. Meteora does. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Meteora. It's
No.
another AMM on Solana. They're gaining a lot of traction. Super great team. And what they have enabled is locking but not burning LP tokens. So what that means is the liquidity pool is still unruggable, right? That liquidity will be there for people to trade, but we can still claim the fees from trading to, you know, pay ourselves and, you know, keep the project going, and
Yeah.
also, you know, pay for the research to keep the token progressing and the science progressing, right? And so that's kind of the important piece that we want to kind of innovate on. So the decision was we either buy tokens and sell them as they go up, or we kind of monetize the trading fees by using Meteora's genius lock but not burn LP strategy. So I hope
Second's the
that makes
better.
sense.
Yeah, the second's the better.
So
Obviously, you know, when you see the team selling tokens, even though it could be for a good reason, people still like to FUD and speculate, and it, you know,
Deb's
it's
hold.
yeah, and it's not going to be healthy. So, you know, we got about, you know, another about 16, 17 minutes, and so I want to take advantage of the time that I have with you. You know, what else is important to you as the founder of Pump.Science as this new ecosystem gets built out? Is there anything else that you are interested in pursuing or adding value to Pump.Science that will, you know, help to decentralize scientific research and the adoption of regular people being able to help the growth of scientific research?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think the number one piece is like, you know, if you become a token holder, now you have a reason to care,
Yeah.
right? So it's like buy first, diligence later is really, I think, what a lot of people do in crypto, including myself, for the
Yeah.
record.
Me
not
too.
not shaming that behavior, but like, you
Yeah.
know, it's so easy to buy and it's so hard to diligence. Might as well anyway. So I think the point there is like I'm just excited by people kind of, you know, taking a deep dive into this space, you know, looking at all of the tokens and projects that are there and actually starting to ask the hard questions like you are, which is why should I be holding this? What is the value here? Is the team shipping? Is, you know, real science being done? Um, do I agree with the intentions of the team? You know, just really like, you know, I think there's kind of like the wag me culture within crypto. I think,
Mhm.
frankly, like we also need the skeptics and the
Yeah.
critics to come in and say, this is too boring, or like, I don't get this, or I don't see the value in this. The more people that are kind of like applying criticism, it forces us, and when I say us, I mean like the whole DeSci ecosystem, to level up and be better. So, and actually work to create value and understanding, because we understand that not everybody is a scientist, right?
Yeah.
And not everybody is going to get everything at the deepest level, nor do they really care. But what we do want is this research to get done, for people to be excited about it, and for people to, you know, be able to receive the value that it creates. So, you know, just at least, you know, joining, you know, whatever project you think is interesting. Doesn't need to be ours. Like there's tons of cool DeSci projects that are popping up and that have existed for a while and are finally getting noticed. And just like being critical, you know, just like actually giving the space a chance. You see a ton of FUD on crypto, or like crypto Twitter about
Yeah.
DeSci. It's everywhere. You know, people are very, very happy to FUD new sectors that they don't have exposure to.
Absolutely.
It's okay. But I think really what I hope that people do is at least give this space some attention. You know, maybe it doesn't deserve your money, but at least I would say that it at least deserves everybody's attention, because it's really an interesting use case of crypto. It's what brought me, it's what made me quit my job in healthcare and like join, you know, this whole space, because I think it's so powerful. and there's so many problems with the healthcare industry, as we've kind of talked about, and a lot of stuff that we haven't talked about. And so for people to at least try and educate themselves is really all we can ask for. And yeah, I hope that makes sense.
With scientific research, sometimes it happens very slow, right? I mean, these type of experiments can't be rushed. It's not, people in crypto kind of want something now, right? So how do you guys, are you thinking about how you can properly communicate with people on these different protocols as they go through each step? How can you involve the community, the holders, more in the process of each molecule and process, like project?
Totally. So I think what we're trying to embody is basically like science out in the open, right? Not something typically done. Typically, when you do research, you are, writing in a lab notebook, keeping everything on your computer, and only when the story is complete do you publish any sort of results.
Yeah.
If you go into our Telegram, we stream data every single hour. And so, I think everyone, like a lot of like traders, what I've seen is they're always looking for news. Like, is there any new news today? And I think the whole idea with what we're trying to do is have there be news every day. And
Yeah.
those news are the scientific results. And now everything and the value of all the tokens bottoms out at the scientific value that's being created. And so that's the news. The news is there's an ongoing experiment. Go check out the results. The results read out very quickly every single day. Stay on top of the experiment, and that's where the alpha is, right?
I love that.
And so I think that's really how people can best stay engaged, is like, for us and for all the DeSci projects, demand data, right? Like, don't trust that the project team is doing something. Actually go in there and be like, show me, right? Don't just tell me, show me, right? And so I think we're trying to embody that as much as possible. And it forces us to make things accessible, both like understandable, but also just there, right? Like, have the data be there that people can see and analyze. And I just hope that people appreciate like how hard that is to do. Like, there are very few scientists or labs that are willing to give you data in real time. It's not the norm, but we're kind of like demanding it as like a must have in order for the kind of the speed at which traders move, for them to stay engaged. So that's really how we want people engaged, is like actually looking at the experiments that are being run, suggesting changes, suggesting product upgrades, other ways that the data can be like viewed or interpreted that make it more engaging, that give them the kind of leading indicators that they want. I think that's another way to look at this, is just like the experimental data is now like a leading indicator on the value of the IP that's being generated, and therefore the token. So we're trying to expose as many of those leading indicators as we can, but we don't know what's best. We're trying to come up with as many cool ones as we can, but we need people to have that like really critical and like data scientist eye and be like, why don't you look at this? And so yeah, I think we're like, what we're calling them is like PhD gens, or just like degens that we're kind of turning into
degens.
Yeah.
I like that term. Really
Yeah.
quickly, I wanted to ask you, so you get to the point where you develop a molecule that the world needs, right?
Mhm.
And you get to the stage of selling that IP to a big pharmaceutical company. I think what I heard earlier, and correct me if I was wrong, but the token holders will kind of get together, the people that own the IP, to discuss like the sale of set IP. Is that accurate? And like, how do you get the, because a lot of people are anonymous, they don't want to tell you who they are. So how does that all work, right? Like, do you go just to the top 10 token holders or the top 100? Who's involved in those negotiations?
So I would say like who's involved in the negotiations is the dev, right? And
Okay,
like whoever they have decided
got it.
to represent them,
That makes
right?
sense.
So the dev hypothetically could stay anonymous. We of course want docs devs.
Yeah.
I think that DAOs.fun is going the same approach, and we're taking inspiration a bit from them. We don't want a bunch of rug pulls getting launched, so we're going to make our best effort to actually diligence the devs prior to letting them launch. So there's kind of that piece. There's also the you kind of mentioned like, oh, pharmaceuticals are kind of exit liquidity, but they're not necessarily exit liquidity. For something like a supplement, for example, we could license it to a supplement manufacturer, right? And they could brand it and use the data that's been generated on Pump.Science to market it, and then sell directly on like an e-commerce site. So the token holders can obviously stay anonymous. I think the goal is to make them token holder votes. I think what we're trying to be super careful about is turning these into DAOs, right? Which we haven't really seen to be like crazy successful quite yet, at least in their current form. There are certainly some exceptions, but running DAOs are hard.
Yeah.
Getting token holders to vote is hard.
Yep. Even harder.
So we're trying to minimize the amount of like voting burden that we place on token holders. That being said, there are certain decisions that are so important that all the token holders should vote on them. And so for things like an IP license, right, licensing the compound rights, those will probably be token holder votes. But our goal is to minimize those to only the essential ones, just so that token holders aren't burdened. Like go vote. So I think this has been a big learning from being in the DeSci space thus far. But I think really to get at like the crux of your question, it's like, what is the end game?
Yeah.
The end game is to have a marketplace, basically an e-commerce site that has all of these compounds listed on it that anyone can buy, right? And somebody comes and they don't need to be crypto native. They don't have to connect their wallet. They just input their credit card details. They buy a freaking supplement. It shows up to their house, and they don't even know that the whole system used crypto to get it to that point. And then, you can get into very interesting ways that you can reward the token holders for having developed that compound. This will I think the important piece though is that it will have to be decided by the token holders. We think some interesting ones though are buyback and burns. So basically some of the revenue that comes from the sale of those supplements going back to buyback and burn the token. That's not like a guarantee by any means. It will have to be decided by the token holders, but that is what we think to be one super interesting mechanic that may be worth pursuing.
I wanted to show you as we're ending down here. I wanted to show because I know there's going to be people that are watching this now or that watch this in the future that say, "Hey, I have some type of molecule or DeSci project that I want to submit to you guys. How and where do I do that?" So I'd like to share the Pump.Science website, and maybe you can walk us through what people or organizations would do to get in touch with you and participate. Is that okay?
100%. I would say there's two main ways. Number one is if you go to Pump.Science, on the top right-hand corner, it says request new experiment. There's a simple type form there where you can just fill it out. We'll keep your responses confidential. We haven't released them to anybody. We've kept this internal so that we preserve people's ideas. But you can input your idea there. You can give the rationale for it. We want to see people that are serious, right? Like not just people that are submitting ketamine and cocaine, for which we have received a lot of suggestions.
Okay.
Sorry, we will not be testing those on the animals. We can't do that. But yeah, people that have good ideas for how they think they can extend lifespan in animals and humans, like go and submit stuff. We'll reach out when we can handle the increased capacity. And so that's number one. And number two is like our Telegram. Our Telegram's where all the action happens. And we want the conversation to be as scientific as possible in there, at least in some pockets, right? Let the nerds have their place to kind of like, they call it the back room, which is basically share their ideas, validate each other's ideas, question them, share papers, like, do the scientific process, which is highly, highly collaborative. Most science, the high quality science is done in collaboration. And so we want to create that community of people that are solely focused on this, which is what can I take every day that helps me live longer? And if, there's a new idea that hasn't been tested before, then, here's the means to go and test it. So that's kind of the vision. And yeah, so I'd say like, filling out that form, joining the Telegram. Those are probably the main two ways.
I love that, Benji. And I wanted to do this. We've like 4 or 5 minutes left. I wanted to give you the final word. Is there? I know there's probably we could probably talk about this for several hours. I mean, you went through incredible detail on how the how it works, how people can participate, when new molecules and protocols will be coming in February. Hopefully, there's the experiments that should happen in January. Is there anything else that you feel is extremely valuable? We have 2,647 people watching. People are interested in this. So what is the final word from you?
Um, like, I think it's important, like, and this is just an opinion, but I think science is the coolest thing ever. And I know that in school it's super boring. The teachers aren't always the most exciting to listen to or learn from. And I think that that scares a lot of people away from science,
Yeah.
which I think is a huge loss, right? Because everything is downstream of science, right? Like science is basically like the knowledge discovery machine, right? Like how do we learn more about the world around us, right? The way I think about it is like, you know, everyone kind of plays the crypto game, which is like a digital game. Even AI is like, predominantly digital, but science is kind of like this world of trying to understand the physical space around us. And we are physical beings. Like you have a body and you are kind of a machine, right? And like, I think it's kind of interesting to think about what should you put into the machine that makes it work the best? What's the best fuel? Like kind of obsessing over this is like a really fun rabbit hole to go down. And we want to be the tool that people use, at least in part, to test different things of, like what should I put in my body that will make it work better. And so what I would say is like we're trying to make science fun again. That's like a big part of what we're trying to do. We get that like science was super boring in high school. It doesn't need to be boring, right? It doesn't need to be, only for like the elites or for the people that could withstand the boredom of their boring science classes, but like make it accessible to anyone. And yeah, I mean, like we like to think that we're, bigger than memes, not necessarily that we're better than memes, but we're trying to channel what, meme coin culture has to fuel what is the coolest thing we have as society, which is like discovering new knowledge about the world we live in and leveraging it for our benefits, leveraging it to like live better lives and to be healthier and like with our loved ones for longer and to have more energy for them. And so, what I hope to like everybody listening out there is, that they at least give this space attention.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of FUD. Every time coins pump, every time there's a new sector, there's going to be a lot of FUD. And, there's also going to be a lot of projects that aren't legit. But I would say that the space as a whole is incredibly legit and its intentions are good. That doesn't mean every project is good. That, doesn't mean you can trust anyone. But there's something really exciting here that I think can have huge disruption. And I think it will be super obvious in hindsight. But now is kind of that period where, people just aren't sure because we haven't seen the value come out of it yet.
Yeah.
And so it's very easy to just like shut your mind off and say, I'm just going to stick to AI because I get it, or I'm going to stick to, meme coins because I get them. And like we get that like science is kind of, historically it's only been for this kind of like select few that went to the right school and like studied the right thing. And I, I think that there's a lot of promise in the DeSci space to make it much more accessible to everyone. And I just hope that people at least give the space a shot. And yeah, like, and then comes the hard part of like delivering the value, but we're here to make that happen. But need people to care in order to make it happen.
No, I love that, man. And I think that's a great place to kind of end here today. I think when we get closer to the experiments and maybe February launching the next, dozen or half dozen molecules, we have you back on, man, because I think people are very excited exactly what you are doing, and that people want to participate and, hopefully own the next, molecule or IP that cures cancer or something, like people want to engage, right? They want to participate. And I think you're giving them the platform to do that. And that's extremely, extremely powerful. And so thank you for everything that you're doing for the crypto space. We appreciate your time. I know it's very valuable. And, we really look forward to having you back, Benji. Thank you, man.
No, I really appreciate you having me. It was super fun to talk. Would love to do it again. And yeah,
I'll
thanks everyone for listening.
I'll work on my scientific terms in the meantime. So next time we can,
Sounds good.
All right,
you can botch some new terms. Can't wait.
Yeah. Send me a list. I will screw them up. All right. I appreciate you, man. Thanks,
We'll
Benji.
talk soon. Peace.
Cheers, man. All right. All right, guys. Let's talk about some news. Thank you so much. Man, really quickly before we get into this, talking with innovators and builders in the crypto space is probably the coolest job you can have, right? I guess like fighter pilot or astronaut is cool too, but like you are on the cutting edge of some really interesting people trying to do interesting ideas and build out the future of scientific research. And that's really chill. That's really cool. So we'll have Benji back when we get closer to their next launch. And let's go ahead and talk about this. Yes, sir. Right now, let's do it. So Brad Garlinghouse said we have final approval from NYDFS for RLUSD. Let's go ahead and get it. The Red Bull is in full effect right now, ladies and gentlemen. We are vibing. So Ripple confirms, right? CEO confirms. The reason this is important is because the world is a very scary place. And if you live in a country where your currency fluctuates a lot, you may look to other currencies that are a little bit more stable. And if, I know there's a lot of people out there that think the US dollar won't be around much longer. I personally have the view that the US dollar is not going anywhere. It's still widely used in trade all over the world. And there's other countries that people are focused on getting digital dollars in their crypto wallets. And this is about USDC, but it speaks to a larger thought of what we're trying to get to here. So I'm going to play this and I'm going to give you some context.
USDC at rest in digital wallets all over the world in more than 200 countries is a digital dollar denominated store of value for people. So it may not be moving in the classical payments use case because it's serving as a hedge against domestic hyperinflationary currency. And a big percentage of USDC, our last report showed that up to 70% of it is off of exchanges in externally owned wallet addresses supporting the store of value. But at the same time, the all-time transaction volume USDC has supported alone is $17 trillion since first issuance to today. And that's a cumulative number that in some ways, the real flywheel will not completely take effect until you start to see integration with merchant services provided.
All right. So you have people in other countries wanting US dollars, right? The reason this could send XRP to a very high price is simple. Over the next few years, trillions of dollars will go from the real world, paper money to digital money. And as that transition happens, when Ripple's stablecoin captures $1 trillion or $2 trillion or $5 trillion, that value lives on the XRP ledger. That value will increase the price of XRP. Okay. A bank in a country A wants to send money to country B. Traditionally, it would need to hold reserves in countries B's currency or use correspondent banking, which is slow and expensive. With RLUSD and XRP, the bank in country A converts its fiat to RLUSD, and RLUSD is converted to XRP for faster global transfers. XRP is converted to RLUSD or local fiat in country B. As demand for real USD increases, so does the utilization of XRP and the intermediary settlement layer. XRP's liquidity improves, attracting more market participants and increasing its due price to demand a higher price. Institutions see Ripple's ecosystem as a viable alternative to Swift, driving further adoption as XRP as the key takeaway. So you also you heard Trump making similar statements that U.S. crypto companies will not be taxed. This is going to be interesting because, listen, Ripple's, Arthur Brito, Jed McCaleb, and David Schwartz were the original designers of the XRP ledger, right? But Ripple, the company, doesn't own the XRP ledger, right? So I don't understand how they're going to not, allow taxes for US based companies. So I'm still trying to figure this all out myself, but you have Donald Trump's son, Eric Trump, who looks a little interesting. It kind of looks like a ghoul, but he's talking about no taxes for American cryptocurrencies such as Algorand, ADA, XRP, and HBAR. This is 8 seconds really quickly, but listen.
Crypto to the United States Treasury, a person who pledged to make crypto tax-free. I mean, think about all these incredible things.
Also, anybody notice, I've seen a lot of clips of legacy media like MSNBC starting to attack cryptocurrency. Has anyone else noticed that? I've been getting I have been shaking angrily at some of these videos that I've seen. I mean, it is loud right now on MSNBC talking anti-crypto conversations. Like it's the crypto industry's fault about the election, and they are casting blame on us, which I find very frustrating. And I think sooner or later people will not be watching legacy media. Let's keep going. There's a few other things I want to get to here. Ripple is teaming up with Clearbank, Zero Hash, and others to create innovative ecosystems for their new Ripple stablecoin RLUSD. Let me play this.
What do you plan to do over the, say, next 30, 60, 90 days to define a plan for your new path?
A lot of work to be done. Locking up banking partners, critical, and also just other service providers in the industry. You really can't go it alone, and we try to stick to our lane. And obviously, we're going to seek approval to issue a stable coin. We're going to do that on the XRPL ledger in addition to Ethereum. So excited about that. But that really begets a whole host of other service providers that we need on the banking side for transaction on and off ramps, for reserve banking, someone to manage the reserves. There's a lot of compliance needs. We've been talking to the folks at Zero Hash and others. And so part of it's just bringing that A team of providers, monthly attestations from the accounting firms. So there's kind of an internal and an external swim lane, if you will, that needs to come together. And also understanding where the use cases are and where our real value exchange can be differentiated, because there are obviously some established players. We think we've got some unique needs within the Ripple community right now that we've been listening to our customers who have been asking for certain attributes to a stable coin that we're targeted towards building. So,
all right, guys. Also, I wanted to talk a little bit about this, man. I remember doing Sensei chats in the bear market with literally 8 or 10 people watching me. Right now, we have 2,833 people live. What a difference! What a difference a year makes, huh? Listen, people asked and we answered. So we have a 5-day free trial for Cryptonaires. We have a great community filled with hundreds of researchers. If you want to stay tuned with what is happening in crypto, if you want to get access to information before it blows up on the crypto Twitter and everything else, sign up to Cryptonaires. I guarantee you're going to get information that will change your life. Guaranteed. All right. So let's keep it going here. There are a few things happening right now that I want you to focus on. This is one of them. So this might happen even quicker than I first expected. Griffin, the first Solana-backed AI agent engine, first unofficial agent launch, grow. And then also there's another token that is launched by Griffin, which is a meme coin that we have been talking about inside of Cryptonaires over the last few days. It is called DPM. Let me go ahead and pull up the chart for DPM here. This was first mentioned in Cryptonaires around 300,000-400,000. I didn't get, I try to be as active as I can in the community. I obviously am doing a bunch of other things. I'm talking to interesting people like Benji at Pump.Science. I'm setting up interviews. I'm researching. I'm doing all kinds of stuff. But this thing is one of the meme coins that Griffin launched. And so there's a lot of people that are speculating that this could head to some serious numbers. This was at $5 million just a little bit ago. I had posted this about 2 or 3 days ago in Cryptonaires at about 1.7 million. So this went up about 200% in about 2 or 3 days. I have a big position in DPM because of that. It's a token from the Griffin ecosystem. DPM sitting at 2.4 million. Why Griffin.com confirmed, created the token in super undervalued, in my opinion. I think this token is super undervalued right now, guys. So I am holding. Currently, I have a pretty decent bag of DPM. It says DPM, understand the lore. This is, I guess Griffin created another token called Fartcoin that went up to a few hundred million. Once word gets around, this will send it over 100 million with NAI. So, man, it would be insane if this even got close to 100 million. I would make a few $100,000 pretty quickly. Also, there's a lot of money going into agent AI swarms and tokens. First year at ACT and Zero Bro. You also have FXN, A16Z. Of course, virtuals has been a big driver in the Cryptonaires Discord. We've been talking about it a lot, and as well as Project 89. Just look at some of the market caps and values and some of this stuff. This is actually an older, thing, because virtual's actually ecosystem is like 1 point something billion at this point. So it's actually pretty high. You also have AI agents, the next 100 billion opportunity. It's already dominating. The real upside is still ahead. After reviewing over 100 coins, this is the person's top 100 potential list. And I will be posting all of this stuff inside of Cryptonaires after I have a doctor's appointment. But remember, I told you about AIXBT at $8 million market cap. This was last month. This is at $265 million market cap right now, guys. This is going to go to $1 billion. Mark my words. This is going to be a huge impact in the crypto market. If you are so bad, if you are not a good researcher, if you don't want to join a community like Cryptonaires, you don't want to pay the fee, I get it. What can you do today to make money? One of the things is just follow AIXBT. It's a Twitter account. This is an AI agent that scans 10,000 Twitter accounts for top KOLs, and it gives you information on what's about to happen in the crypto market. You could just follow AIXBT and you could be a good trader just from doing this type of stuff, right? I've told you this. I told you this months ago, but if you're paying attention now, if you're here today, this is a good way to make some easy money in the crypto space, okay? Also, you have A16Z. A16 is a venture capital of decentralized organization that helps create AI agents. This is at, I think, like 500 million. Chaos is something that we brought up last chat. Is it already at 27 million? No, come on. It can't be that high already, can it? Hold on. Let me just check this really quickly. Come on. No, this thing's at 1 million. This person's smoking rocks. Okay, so that's not accurate market cap for the token. All good, though. Let's keep it going. You also have Satoshi or Saint. We brought this up in Sensei Chat and in Cryptonaires Discord. I think this was like 3 or 4 million. It's at 25 million. Zebro, I don't think I brought this up. I don't know if any other member did, but there's so much stuff happening in the space, guys. There's a lot of money. We brought up Game a long time ago, under 5 million. Ava was brought up inside of Cryptonaires at like 2 million. It went up to 90 million market cap. This was a 45x in November for some people. A lot of money going into these projects, guys. If you find one early, you can make some money. There's another token right now that I was referred to by a friend called Sarah. And this is a token. My God, hold on. Let me share this with you. This thing actually went up to 800,000. This was shared, I think, like 120K just a few days ago. I have a decent sized position in this. This thing went up to 800K. This would have been a nice 600% gain for you in under a week if you were in the Cryptonaires Discord. I am still holding the bag. I think right now, let me just take a look at BullX, where I trade some of my meme coins on Solana. I think my position in this right now is pretty juicy. If I could get BullX to load, that'd be dope. Let me keep going here with a few other things. Also, another token that was brought up today inside of Cryptonaires is called PNet. PNet, weird name, I know. First digital ecosystem for autonomous AI principles, building academics on chain. I actually just put a few $1,000s into this. I cannot get BullX to load for some reason right now. Hold on, bullx.io. Oh, let me take all this other juiciness off the thing. Let me just try to load that. Okay, I got to connect it to my Telegram. That sucks. Okay, hold on. Let me just do this real quick. Log in, open. Oh, it was on a different browser. That's why I can't pull it up on there. So my Sarah position right now, it's up 260%. Right now, from when I got in a little bit later than the community. I got about $12,000. DPM bag is about 18,000, and then I put a few $1,000 in PNET, PNET. So these are the tokens I am currently just buying over the last few hours here, and have had for the last few days. PNET. Let me go ahead and try to bring this up. 33%. I posted this in Cryptonaires at about 3.4 million. And I know people were talking about it before I was sent this. So, man, I know those people in the Cryptonaires Discord trading in the DGen channel are making all kinds of juicy money. Here is Sarah's Twitter account. If you wanted to go check out this, I think this is very undervalued. Not many people know about this yet. If you just take a look at how many followers, it only has 590 followers, guys. The person that told me about this actually had $1 million P&L on another AI agent called Act. And so he referred this token to me. I referred it to my community, and we'll see what happens there, guys. If you want some up-to-date information, you don't want to join Cryptonaires, Twitter is a good place to find some updates. I post a bunch of different stuff, a lot of XRP stuff. Let me do this, guys. I got a few more minutes here. We're about to approach 3,000 people in the live chat. Let's go ahead and get some of your questions answered. New member from Hob Strand. Nice to meet you, Hob. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It is an honor. Sarah in SOL is moving. Yes, it is, Justin. Justin, you're in Cryptonaires, right? You must be if you know about this. Fartcoin, yes, it's a terrible name for a token, but people bought that shit. Literally, they bought that shit, right? HBAR is going to blow up in Texas. Tracy, that's great to know. Love Texas. I've only been to the airport in Texas, but I've heard great things about your barbecue and the people down there in the great state of Texas. All right. What else we got here? Trigger me, Elmo. You've been here the whole time. You got any questions? Love to answer that. Yes, Justin, you are. Are you invested in McRib? Is that like McRib? Let me take a look at that. Jihad Williams, McRib. Okay, let's take a look, man. McRib. All right, let's take a look here, man. No, I am not invested in McRib. I am not buying this, no matter how much money you pay me or you think this is going up. No, sorry. Hard pass on McRib. What else you guys got, man? I got like 3 minutes before I have to run outside and jet down the street to a medical appointment. But what other things can I answer? I know today we didn't get a ton of time to talk. I'm going to give you extra time on Friday. We're going to have a chat on Friday. I have another interview with actually a really incredible project. There's going to be a seed round opportunity for this project inside of Cryptonaires. And I know what you're thinking. Seed rounds, they might take too long, that we want to make money in this market. This is launching in February. They actually just got millions of dollars in funding for this project. It could be a juicer. They're basically they're building a digital version or crypto version of Steam, which is one of the biggest gaming platforms in the world right now. And I think you want to be here on Friday for this, guys. AMP, what is this? Brett, AMP, you want to look at AMP? Man, we almost hit 3,000 people. That is juicy. That is juicy. I wonder what we're going to get to. 758 million. I mean, I don't really screw with anything that's that high, man. Like there's not really money to be made and stuff like that. Toys and bears. I cannot copy and paste from the chat on StreamYard. You're going to have to give me whatever the ticker is. Check out Mana. Okay. Mana. I like the name. Meme architecture. Is this it? 7 million market cap. Holy shit. This just blew up, dude. Let's see what this is. Meme, architect, assets. Here's a Telegram. What? I have no idea what I'm looking at here. What is this? I mean, I can see that it just blew up. What? Hold on. Who said that? Toys and bears. What is it? Google window quantum chip contributed to the bloodbath we had earlier. Yeah, Trigger Mayomo, we were talking about this inside of Cryptonaires. Actually, quantum computers are coming. They are going to be a thing. Could that challenge Bitcoin? We don't know. It does seem like there might be some issues there unless some things are updated. The XRP ledger does have some quantum resistance. So All good. All good. Yeah, Shin, you can sign up for 5 days for free right now. You just got to go to wap.com/Kryptonaires. Ariana has it correct. Here it is. Oh, I think we spelled it wrong there. Ariana, Kryptonaires. Yeah, it's Kryptonaires. All good. You're good. Sensei, do you see my post? Sal, where's your post, man? Sal, M87 Messier. Check it out. M87. I see it, Sal. Let me see it. M87. You guys are coming up with some fire stuff here. Let's see this. What is this? 93 million Messier. I don't know. See, like I really try to wait and just get stuff under a few million market cap to try to write it up. Once it reaches 100 million, yes, it could go to $1 billion, but that's still only a 10x. And there's always going to be another crypto project that is going to pump. I try not to get too heavily invested in things over 100 million, just to be quite frank with you. If this was the case, I would just go buy utility coins. Honestly, you know, the AI sector is blowing up. Gaming is blowing up. There's a lot of money to be made in those areas too. Farcoin is 700 million. Go drop down to 300 million. That's a shame. That's why you take profits, ladies and gentlemen. Don't just hold thinking that things are going to go up forever. Everything has situational awareness in the crypto market. Things pump and then they dump. You want to make sure that you are trying to cash out at the top. Don't hold on to things forever. You are not married to your crypto. Just buy it, make money, sell it. That's how we do it around here. All right. All right, guys, listen, do you want me to come on? Let me see. I don't know if I have time. I might have some time tomorrow. We might do an impromptu live stream where we just research tokens together. We just look up different things. I'd like that a lot. I know Friday we're going to have another really cool interview, and I know you guys are really interested in hanging out. I do apologize that I didn't have as much time today as I would like. Just got a busy week over the next few days. But listen, 2,900 people. We set a record today for viewership. It's an honor to be on this journey with you. Thank you so much. I know a lot of you are over on Twitter. If you want to go over to YouTube, like my YouTube account, I'll see you around, guys. Join Kryptonaires. That's the best piece of advice I can give you in the crypto space. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much. It's been an honor. Peace. All right, Luna, we're done. Let's go.